Hi everyone, Maggie here. I'm a behavioral specialist with Pets in Need, and today I'm going to be talking about puppy socialization. A very common misconception with puppy socialization is that if you simply expose your puppy to new experiences and things like nail trims or petting, that your puppy will love it and eventually they'll just get used to it. It's not necessarily true. It's really important that we pair every experience your puppy has with play, with food, with praise, and other really fun and positive experiences so that they start to associate whatever it may be, new people, grooming equipment, leashes or harnesses, with something really positive. I will be showing you a number of different games and training exercises that we can do with our puppy, but before I start that, I want to talk a little bit about socialization outdoors. Right now with social distancing, puppy socialization will be a challenge, but not impossible. One thing that you can be doing right now is every single dog and every single person that comes into view while you're out on your walks, treat. As soon as they're in view, if you need to, have that treat in your hand, bring it right down to your puppy's nose and treat, 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 treat as you pass until they're completely out of sight. After the first 10 to 15 repetitions of this, your dog is going to start looking to you for that treat, and they may show some excitement, and that's perfect. They are associating the person or that new dog with food, and that's okay. They're pairing that with a really positive experience, which will help us when we start to do stranger introductions and introductions with new dogs later on when restrictions are lifted. It's important to get your puppy used to different types of clothing. Hats, sunglasses, and especially face coverings or masks can be very scary to a puppy. I recommend practicing some games like, say you're working on your clicker training or your sit. Throw on a pair of sunglasses while you do it, or put a hat on, treat, take a hat off, etc. That can be a great way to expose your dog to different types of clothing. Don't forget, it's getting warmer, so jackets could be a great thing to expose your dog to, or long flowy skirts. Another really important thing is to get your dog used to different types of things that they may want to be drinking out of. So if you like to hike like we do, it's important that your dog is accustomed to drinking out of something that's a little different than a bowl. So I've got one of these collapsible bowls as well as a plastic dish. This could be a great thing to expose your puppy to. Grooming equipment. Grooming equipment is extremely important, and you should be starting your dog's exposure to this as quickly as possible. So, as soon as possible, not necessarily as quickly as possible. So with nail trimmers especially, as well as brushes, start off really slow. Maybe just put it on the ground, let your dog investigate, and click and treat. Then you can try holding it in your hand and letting your dog investigate, clicking and treating. Or holding the nail trim up to a nail, but not actually trying to trim that nail or opening the clipper. That's another great way to expose your dog to this. Go really slowly. If we move too quickly, especially when they're in key socialization periods, we can actually create an aversion to some of these items if we move too quick. So it's so important that you take baby steps. And if your puppy seems frightened at all, go back and create more steps if you need to. Perhaps you have to stand 3 feet away and present the nail clipper versus hold it in your hand, and that's absolutely okay. Don't forget to expose your puppy to different types of equipment. So, a leash, a collar, a harness. I even have a long line here. Some dogs who've not been exposed to a long line before are a little bit uncomfortable with that. So that could be a great way to help your dog get used to a leash as well as a long line. The next thing I want to talk about is muzzle training. So you may be wondering, why on earth would I start muzzle training my puppy? And having a muzzle trained dog is really, really nice. In Tucson, where I'm from, we have a lot of cacti. Something that will happen is, a puppy or a dog will be out on a hike and get a cholla in a foot, and that can be a really painful and scary experience. Sometimes owners and veterinarians have a really tough time removing those types of things without a muzzle. If your dog hasn't been exposed to a muzzle, that can make a really scary situation even that much more frightening. So here are muzzles. I recommend not necessarily getting a puppy-sized one, but one that would fit an adult dog. so that maybe you're adult dog, so that way you have that muzzle. You're not having to buy multiple sizes, and you can start by putting little treats in, setting it down, let your puppy explore. You can even put peanut butter toward the back of the muzzle and let them lick at it. Of course, most puppies would be able to put their whole head in here, not just their muzzle, and that's okay. As long as we're just introducing it as something that isn't scary, even if we never stick it on the dog, if the dog has had some positive exposure to that, they're desensitized to the muzzle. If we ever need to use one, it's going to be that much easier. So the next thing, novel items. So I have my bubble machine, I have an umbrella, also novel sounds. So I've downloaded an app here. It's got some scary puppy sounds. So I've got thunder, beeps, a doorbell. This is a great way to expose your dog to noises. So I recommend starting at the very lowest setting on these apps and treating. You can even play this while they're having their meal. So that's actually a really easy way to do that. Start with the very lowest setting, and then after a day or two, you can start to increase the volume. At any point, your dog, again, these are key socialization periods. So it's kind of that make or break. If we move too quickly with this may be something where maybe our dog was neutral to a thunder sound, but since we moved too quickly during the socialization period, we've made it frightening. So it's really important that you keep that low volume, give them some wet food, let them enjoy that while you're playing that, and slowly increase the volume over weeks and months. The next thing I want to go over is dog clothing. So I have a raincoat here and a doggy bandana. On rainy days, it's really nice to have some kind of waterproof covering for your dog. And if your dog hasn't been exposed to one of these before, they may not wear it as an adult. So you may not want to buy a small puppy coat, but you could always use a bandana. So a full-size bandana here I place around the neck and kind of bring this down, and that would sort of serve as a covering for a puppy to help them get used to the feel of fabric on their back. You can do the same thing to get them accustomed to doggy backpacks that way. So that's another great option for you. Next, toys. Texture is so important. And puppies explore the world with their mouths. So now is the time to expose them to all different types of toys. So we have puzzle toys, hard rubber toys, soft toys, frisbees. Make sure that you include a variety of different toys. And the same thing goes for treats. If your puppy has not been exposed to different types of texture, carrots, soft, chewy treats, hard, crunchy treats, they may reject those later in life. So make sure to provide a variety of different treats. And lastly, substrates. So this is something you may not think about a lot, but this is something that we can do in the house, and we can make these into fun training games. So here I have a towel. It has kind of a rougher texture. So we could say, put this on the ground here. I have a coarse texture on the top of the step stool. And then I have a reusable bag here, and this has a crinkly texture. So this could be frightening for a puppy or a dog who's never been exposed to it. So we can set these on the ground, and there's all kinds of, there's a squeaking noise too. There's all kinds of different games that we can play with this. So we can practice treating near these, or luring them till they take single paw on here and clicking and treating, or stepping up on the rough texture and jumping off. So there are all kinds of fun games that we can play with different textures. Not only can it be great enrichment, but socialization and desensitizing your dog to these textures as well.